One. Hi. Welcome to another episode of the Reactors. I am Paul. This is Andrew. And we have a special guest on our channel, Mr. Pat Liston, who is a solo artist and former member or founding member of Mama's Pride. Still a member, I'm sure, as you guys ever do things together. But thanks for coming on, Pat. We were talking, you got an amazing career, tons of stories, and you talked a little bit about Leonard Skinner in the other video. And here's something we do a thing about the ship of Theseus. You know what that is? Where there's an old Greek ship and they replace one board at a time. And then it's completely all new boards. And you say, is it still that ship or is it a new ship? And we do that by with bands. For example, Foreigner and Leonard Skinner are touring right now.
Right.
With no original members.
Right.
So if they replace one guy at a time, and then is it still those bands or are they tribute bands?
Exactly.
I mean, I wouldn't buy it. They're great music. I mean, the catalog, especially for Leonard Skinner, is unbelievable. But I don't know.
No, I'm not. To me, they're, it's over. Let it go.
Yeah.
Because I worked with the real Leonard Skinner, and when I worked with them in '77, they were at their peak. Because I had heard them one other time a year or so before that at Kiel, and they were all drunk. And I was not impressed. And I was backstage. I was in the bathroom, and what's his name? Gary came walking up using the bathroom next to me, or the urinal next to me, and I said something about I said Alan Walden is our manager, and which used to be their manager, and all he said was, "You have my apologies," or my sympathy. And but he was drunk already, and they hadn't even gone on stage yet.
God.
Well, when we worked with him in '77, Ronnie had started a new rule: absolutely no drugs or alcohol the day of the show.
Right, I heard that.
And boy, you could tell. I mean, that had to be one of the best bands I've ever heard ever.
And they rehearsed.
And I don't say that lightly. And it was, you could really tell everybody was on the mark,
Yeah, so probably. I mean, another band that doesn't get enough props. I don't know. Are they in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Who?
Leonard Skinner.
Oh,
that's such a joke, by the way. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sure they must be. Yeah,
but there's a lot of bands that are not. So anyway,
go
ahead.
Grand Funk Railroad's not in there.
Right. Well, that's another. I know you guys.
Well, see, they shouldn't put the rap groups and even the R&B groups. That's get a different museum for them, or Hall of Fame for them.
Right.
But that's not rock.
Yes, they are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
But call it the Music Hall of Fame or something. Don't call it rock and roll.
Right. Exactly. I mean, Dolly Parton refused.
Yeah. Yeah. But like Kansas isn't in there, and Stick isn't in there, and it's just on. But anyway, I digress.
You could talk about this for an hour.
I mean, like I said, I used to be a DJ. Actually, it was funny. We're talking about doing stuff in front of an audience that wasn't into it. Well, I told Andrew this story before. I actually did stand-up comedy for a short time with Cedric the Entertainer, Kathleen Madigan, people like that. And we did this one thing. We're trying to get on David Letterman. So Jack Daniels, Johnny Walker sponsored it. We all got to the Funny Bone. It's 9:00 in the morning, and it's all comedians in the audience who are trying to get the gig. So if they're telling you, and if they laugh, they're hurting themselves because they're making you look good. And the first guy got up and said, "Boy, there's nothing better than being a comedian at 9:30 in the morning with a room full of comedians." And just
yeah.
And I mean, sure, you've had things like that where you've done like showcases, especially when you're younger. You probably did showcases.
Oh yeah.
And it's like the crowd was,
Oh no, definitely. Well, and back when we worked, when we lived on the West Coast, all the bars out in that whole area do 6 nights a week, 2 to 6 weeks at a time, which is cool for tearing down and setting up because you don't have to, you just leave it there. But in St. Louis, it was 1 day at a time when we came back, or one night gigs, and I was like, oh no, whoa, this sucks. So we went and got an agent from Louisville, Kentucky, and he booked us in what they call the Chitlin circuit, which was down south. And that was the same way. You worked 6 nights a week, 3 to 4 weeks at a time. And those 2, I think you were off like either on Sunday or Monday. and say you were off Sunday. Well, Monday and Tuesday you played, and there wasn't a hell of a lot of people in there on a Sunday and Monday, or Monday to Tuesday, you know. But that's when we worked out a lot of our jams, like the song Old St. Lou. That whole thing was worked out on Mondays and Tuesdays.
Really?
Because we would just jam in different songs. And all we did was take all those jams and put it into one song, and it was Old St. Lou.
Well, it's kind of funny because one of the videos that's terribly like that is Grand Funk doing, I think, Inside Looking Out live, just
Right.
the three of them. And the audience is like got 12 people, and their guys are killing. I mean, they're sweating. They're doing the 100% show, and the people in the crowd is just not. And I think you knew Mark Farner a little bit, or
Danny, I think Danny knew him because he spoke at Danny's church, and I think Danny picked him up from the airport.
Okay.
But Grand Funk was great. Yeah, but no, audiences are funny. I mean, I remember one time we did a show in St. Louis, and we thought we sucked. It was just not a good night. And we had people coming up, man, that's the best you ever sounded. And I turned and looked at my brother. I looked at my brother and I said, you know what? I think we try too hard at this. They're not hearing. Well, I've always said, you take two guys. One's a musician, one's just a music lover. Send them both to the same concert. They both hear two completely different bands.
100% true, yeah.
Because the audience, the fan, they're not hearing all those nuances. Part of what they hear is just energy.
Right.
And that's why we were having audio problems, everything this night. We thought we sucked. Well, we didn't suck. It just wasn't what we wanted. But we would always add the energy. Mama's Bride was known for that. So that's what the audience was feeding off of,
right,
was our energy.
Well, you see that all the time in like critics versus audience scores when it comes to musicians or movies or whatever. You see like the critics have like, oh, it was 60%. It wasn't that great. They had a lot of issues. But then you see the audience scores and it's 80, 85, 90% because they all just enjoyed the experience and the atmosphere of the rock. It was a good time while the critic was trying to break down everything that the person did wrong.
Right.
You see that kind of thing all the time.
Our best critical thing was when we were working with Greg, and I forget, it was down in Florida somewhere, and we did a big concert, and the critic, and see, we would open the show as Mama's Pride, then we'd go off, then we'd come back with Greg and this harmonica player as the Greg Allman Band. And this guy said, Mama's Pride was incredible. They were blah, 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 blah. But the Greg Allman Band just didn't seem to have as good a musician. And I messed with Greg. And I told him about it. And he started laughing. He goes, critics are idiots. I said, well, Greg, I'm just saying the only difference was you.
Yeah, right.
And he goes, oh, funny, very funny.
Yeah.
That's awesome, actually.
Yeah, we were talking about that too, as far as being the opening act being better than the main act sometimes. And to mention, I think it was Van Halen opened for Aerosmith, and Steven Tyler used to unplug their equipment to get them off stage.
Right.
And so one day, I think it was Eddie taped down fake chords. And so Steven Tyler was trying to rip up the chords, and he's ripping up all the ones that were dead. And they just kept playing. I mean, that's cutthroat. It's cutthroat.
Oh, no. And that type of stuff, I never have experienced that type of stuff. But I do remember our first concert was with Charlie Daniels, and I think it was in Jackson, Tennessee. It was a big show. And we were nervous but excited, and we had the songs, we had our song list, and we were doing In the Morning, one of the songs off the first album. And then when we were done with that, we were going to do the big closer, which is, I don't know what it would have been, at the time. But apparently we had gone too long because we hadn't done this yet, so we were excited. And I looked off to the stage, and his guitar roadie's name was Skinny. Everybody, he ended up being good friends with us, but I looked over and I saw Skinny doing cut it, and I was like, oh crap. I didn't have a watch or a clock, anything that I just knew if he said we went too long, we went too long. And so I got a hold of what I thought was everybody in the band. I said, after this one. So when we finished it, I said, good night. Well, the only person that didn't hear me say that or didn't see me do it was my brother. And we're like trying to get off stage because I'm terrified. I thought, God, we'll never get another concert with these guys. Danny walks up, grabs the mic, says, "Yeah, right now we'd like." And about that time, he looked around, and he was the only one on stage.
That's
he goes,
hysterical.
"Right now we'd like to
Say
go home. Good night." And he just walked, and he was out. What do you? What he thought I did it on purpose. Hey, Danny, I'd have never done that, especially our first show. Are you kidding? But I told him that Skinny had done that. But I tell you what, next concert we played with Charlie Daniels, you could have put us on a stopwatch.
Oh yeah,
That's so
no
funny.
I mean, we ended right. I mean, our rehearsal, that's what we do. We'd time it.
Right. We're going to get into what a lot of people would consider Mama's Pride's biggest hit. Obviously, KC Radio plays it probably every other day. Seems like it, but it's worth it. It's a great, great song. And again, we talked earlier. I could see it in a movie soundtrack. And then when I make my movie, it'll be in there. I promise you. I'll negotiate the rights with you. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this song is called Blue Mist, and it's the lyrics are beautiful, the melody's beautiful. I'm not overselling it.
It's a KC classic.
Have you've heard it?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're gonna play. This is a studio version, because I'm probably gonna ruin it. I don't know. Maybe I'm not. But the first guitar notes remind me of "Child in Time" by Deep Purple. That guitar tone when they go into the solo of the song "Child in Time." He's singing that real operatic loud, and all of a sudden, dun 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 dun, and they go, wah, wah, wah. Those notes have always sounded like they took them from you guys. I don't know who came first.
It was almost Matt. I mean, as good as the song was, and lyrics and all this stuff, people like really, as particularly on the album, his solos on that song were probably as impressive to the audience as the song itself.
Right.
I mean, when we worked with other musicians, I never tell a guitar player, "Oh, do it like this, do it." But on that song, I remember we worked with, oh God, I'll think of his name in a minute. But we worked with, and I said, if you can, as much as you can. Well, even Jim Comparata, when we did it with him with the Pat Liston band, I said, try to stay as much like Max as possible, because that's what the audience, they remember those licks.
Yeah.
And the tone. It's amazing. So we're
yes.
We're going to fire it in there. And like I said, if you've got something you want to comment on, let us know. Otherwise, we're going to let it rock and roll here.
But most fans could come along with that lead. That's how much they liked it.
Oh yeah.
Standing on the bus line, waiting for number 39. Take me home for the last time. Hoping for the morning rain to fall upon my face, so that it will erase the teardrops in my eyes. 'Cause there's a blue mist in the eye.
Tickets $4.50, $5.50,
I know. That's one of my photos, and as I look at that now and say, "Oh my God!"
I was looking at concert tickets for Hollywood Casino Amphitheater just last night, and it was like $70, $80, $90, $100 for a lawn seat. I'm like, this is crazy. I had to stop it. I just saw $4.50.
Yeah. Oh no, I almost said something.
Yeah.
I don't have my glasses.
I
don't have my glasses on, so I can't see that marquee, but I know what it says because it's my picture.
Yeah.
I'd pay $5.50 to go see Mama's Pride.
There you go, buddy. That picture there was taken in Muscle Shoals.
All right.
Peaches.
We were brought together because of stormy weather.
Yeah, you are
The weather
wearing
got better and the sun came, we were gone. Now you couldn't help but make it because you tried to fake.
Yeah, that big poster that's hanging on the wall of our second album. I don't know why that picture's in there because that's a group that's called Mama's Pride that are out in California.
I think they messed up.
That happens all the time.
That's not you?
No.
Oh.
No, I never wore a bikini. Never wore a bikini like that. Now that house right there, that's 461 Ocean Boulevard. Like the Clapton album.
Yeah.
Everybody thought that was his house, and I'm like, dude, you think he put his address on the front of an album? It was a band house whenever you recorded at Criteria Studios in Miami. So when we went there, the gal at Jan something, I can't remember her last name, but you would sign the little thing, and I asked her, may I look through this? She says, I have to hold it. I mean, she wouldn't even let loose of it. And she'd turn the pages. All 4 Beatles at different times.
Wow.
The Eagles, Led Zeppelin. Rod Stewart. You name it, they were in this book.
I can't
that
even
had stayed at this house.
Like how much like historical significance that book has now. You know what I mean? Like,
oh gosh, yeah.
Talk about Muscle Shoals too. That's another one of my pet peeves. You know, growing up, I was a Monkees fan. Everyone ripped them for not being musicians, but back then. Muscle Shoals, those guys, the musicians there, the Wrecking Crew, they did almost everybody's albums.
Well, the Wrecking Crew was not in Muscle Shoals. That was Los Angeles.
They're Los Angeles, but Muscle Shoals had, their group. They did a lot of Motown down in Muscle.
I worked with the Wrecking Crew too.
Yeah, but Glenn Campbell was every great musicians, but to say, well, you didn't play your stuff. Nobody did. The Wrecking Crew.
Neither did the Beach Boys.
Right. That's what people don't
understand. The Wrecking Crew did their stuff. Crew, and Brian was in there because he was a damn genius.
Right.
And even Carol Kay, that was the bass player, she used to say that Brian would come in and he knew what he wanted. But they still played it. The Wrecking Crew still played all the Beach Boys stuff.
And so it's just one of those things. I said that was the thing in the day. The Wrecking Crew was the go-to band for groups to do their albums. Period.
And then you had the Muscle Shoals guys for a lot of the R&B stuff.
Right. A lot of R&B. There's another thing people don't realize. They came down all the way to Alabama. When in Alabama? Muscle Shoals? Yeah. To record Motown.
Yeah.
But it was great.
Yeah, there were 2 or 3 towns that were right together. There was Muscle Shoals, Sheffield, and something else I can't remember. And they were all right there together because we recorded at Broadway Sound Studios, which was technically in Sheffield, but it was all connected. And the big one that they were known for was Percy Sledge, When a Man Loves a Woman.
Right, yeah. Well, it's funny, too, because in Sweet Home Alabama, the lyric is Muscle Shoals has the Swampers.
Yeah.
Pick us up when we're feeling blue, you know.
Right.
All right,
well, that's where Skinner did all their demos because, they had the same manager. Well, our manager was their manager. So, he told us that because it was the same studio, Broadway Sound, that we recorded in. And Skinner did all their demo things that got him the record deal in Muscle Shoals.
All right, let's hop back into the rest of this. This is the history of these songs is crazy.
Right.
Yeah, this is Hewlett's favorite song.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were a good band. There was, I missed the last verse, but the last verse, actually, the original lyric was different.
Uh-huh.
I was in a studio in Los Angeles, and I was doing a demo of it. And the producer, Ray Ruff, I was doing it, and I'm giving this song to you to hurt your pride. Well, what the original lyric said was, I'm giving this song to you to blow your mind.
Oh.
And Ray Ruff came out into the studio. He said, Pat, that phrase is already starting to lose traction. And it's going to be one of those phrases that's going to seem corny because it's so outdated. Maybe you should go home, rewrite something. And I said, how about Hurt Your Pride? He goes, or you could do it right here.
That's interesting.
And take your time, go home, think about it, or take 22 seconds and we can do it right now.
Yes, exactly. So that was something else that peaked, because I still have the original handwritten lyrics.
Wow.
And it's written "hurt your blow your mind" on that.
That's interesting.
You know what's funny though is because that phrase "blow your mind" never went out of fashion. Like they
Not
still
really.
use it today. Like so,
Yeah.
it's funny that the concern
Well,
was
and
that it was going to be
it kind of
outdated.
did, but then it kind of came back in vogue, you know. But I was glad he said that, because it probably would have bothered me,
No,
you know.
okay.
Years later, I'd have listened to it and went, "Oh man, I should have said something else."
Yeah.
You know? So I was always grateful to Ray. The uncanny thing about Max was he would do a solo, and Jim Gaines, I think, was one of the, well, he noticed it, but also Aretha Bardin on this album noticed he'd want Max to try his solo again. And when Max would do it again, he worked these parts out, and he could do it note for note exact.
That's crazy.
Well, then Arif had this brainy idea that's like, let's stack it.
No.
Because he said, I've never been able to stack a guitar player solo because they're incapable of doing it the same twice. But Max wasn't. Max could absolutely, if you wanted him to duplicate what he just did, he could do that.
And I think it's high praise, because the only other person I've heard in my experience talk about something like that was someone was talking to Brian May from Queen.
Right.
And he could do it. And I mean, that's high praise if you're comparing.
I was going to say, that's real high praise.
But because anyway, it gives me chills because it's such a great tone and just a great solo. But go ahead and finish.
You can tell we're getting a little further in the years. $30.
$30.
$30 for a ticket now. What happened to $5.50?
Right.
Yeah.
That's
For the record, that's not my mother.
I was going to say, common myth.
My mother was much younger than that.
I'm telling you, if you can't hear the blues in that song, then you can't hear the blues. It's got definitely a blues feel.
Well, there's a guy doing a documentary on us right now that according to him, is going to be on Netflix. But one of my ex-managers, Charlie Brusco, who manages Styx, kindly did a very nice interview. And he was the one that said they were not Southern rock. He said they were misplaced. They were R&B rock. And he said they were the best band I ever heard, which coming from him was really high praise. I mean, it was a wonderful interview, you know, but he talked about the harmonies and all the stuff. He said, and he even said in this thing that a lot of the Southern, which I didn't know this, that a lot of the Southern bands didn't want to work with us because our harmonies were so tight. And most Southern bands had one lead singer and that was it.
Yeah.
And we didn't. We really concentrated heavily on vocal harmonies. And he just said a lot of things in the interview that was like, wow, I didn't know he thought that, you know, so it's kind of cool.
Well, it's funny how many times people hear, well, I mean, Another One Bites the Dust was a big hit in the disco dance scene, and no one knew.
Right.
At first, they thought it could have been a black group, could have been anybody.
Right.
And I think Elton John had a couple of songs they thought they didn't know it was Elton John. And I think this is a song that they didn't know who did it and popped it into some R&B station out of the blue. Nobody would take it. Nobody would blink. They say, another great R&B song.
There was a guy from Rusty Springs went to a ZZ Top concert, and he got backstage and he met the sound man. and brought him to Rusty Springs, you know, because he's looking to have a drink. He said, I'll bring you to the bar and bring you back, you know. So on the way there, Bob played him our second album, Uptown and Low Down.
Right.
And he was listening to Call You a Cab, Danny's song. So when he gets to Rusty Springs, he's talking to us. He says, man, you guys, why do I not know about you guys? I said, well, you're in the majority, brother. And he said, my God, who were the black chicks that sang on that song? I said, well, which song? He said, Call You a Cab. And I just kind of raised my hands up. I said, yeah, baby. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
He goes, no, man. He said, no, that couldn't have been you. And that couldn't have been men. I said, it was men. It was us. We did all that. He said, I had never heard white men sound like black women. I said, well,
That's awesome.
you have now.
Yeah. Well,
So I do have one question then. Does a band being mislabeled or like labeled differently than you intend, like, you know, a lot of them were saying Southern rock or R&B, does that tend to influence like your song choices going forward? Like songs that you write or songs that you want to write? If you are, if you know you're being labeled in a certain way.
I've never been asked that question before, and that's a very good question. Because absolutely the answer is yes. Because I wrote, well, like Missouri Skyline, we all kind of wrote that, but I wrote all the lyrics. And I wrote the lyrics like you know, talking about, you know, farm, you know, buying farm country and all that. I'd never on a farm unless I visited my grandpa's house, you know. And so I did write the lyrics to kind of lend itself to a more Southern rock thing. Now, I didn't write all my stuff like that, you know. But yeah, when they label you something, you know, I never wore a cowboy hat till I was with Mama's Pride.
Really?
Well,
Wow.
the reason I asked is I had watched something about Evanescence when they first started, Amy Lee. They were labeled as Christian rock when they weren't. They were new metal. They had nothing really to do with Christian rock at all, but they had been
no kidding. Oh, that's
shoved
unusual.
into that category because their songs were melodic and they had a spiritual kind of element to it. So people like thought of it as Christian rock, but they weren't and they didn't want to be. So I heard that, you know, she had talked about how that kind of changed the direction of the band slightly, and I was curious as to how
I didn't know they were labeled that way either.
At the very beginning of their career, they were.
Well, that's understandable because Danny's old pastor used to call Christian music cheese whiz because it just didn't. They were usually copying from a secular band and they try to make it into a Christian. It's like, dude, just come up with your own sound, you know. Because a lot of my lyrics have spiritual, not just overtones. Some of it's flat out spiritual
metal,
but it's like I just write the way I write. I would never want to write like some of the Christian rock stuff because it's just musically, it's kind of disingenuous, you know.
Oh yeah, I mean there are some bands that I think do it really well, like Skillet. If you don't know it's Christian rock, it's just good rock, right? But if you know that it has a deeper meaning to you from that element. And that's when I think Christian rock is at its best, is when you don't know it's Christian rock until you find out. You know what I mean?
Well, I think, what did John Schlitt left Pat East and went on to Petra, I think.
Oh, yeah. He went with, oh, gosh, what was the name of that band? Petra, yeah.
And
they did really well.
Yeah.
But see, John brought his own influence in that.
And he's got a great voice too. You know,
obviously, Head East was not, you know, a Christian band. So I mean, he brought, when he became a Christian and went that route, he stayed. He didn't change.
Right.
He was still John Schlitt, you know, and the way he always sang and everything. So yeah, he did real well with them.
Well, if you can stick around, do one more with us today.
Sure.
I mean, don't want to take too much of your time, but gotta touch on how you and I got hooked up here and that kind of situation. So you want to stick around and do one more? We'll do one off your book release concert.
All right, guys.
Okay.
Well, that's it for this one. Pat, again, thank you so much for joining us for this video. If there's anything you guys want to see us do, let us know in the comment section down below. We will do our best to get to it. We love hearing from you guys. We've hit 1,500 subscribers, which
button.
Thank you guys very much. And we will catch you guys in the next one.